Okay, so who are sort of the big winners and who are sort of the big losers here? Well, it depends on what emerges. The biggest loser is pretty obviously Russia is a big loser. Russia loses a lot of impact because, again, Russia had backed the Assad regime. Now, Russia is attempting to broker something with regards to the new regime because they always do. But Russia is a big loser. The biggest loser by far is Iran. Okay, Iran has lost its entire crescent of Islamic Shia terror. Like, it's gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. Hamas, gone. Hezbollah, gone. Assad, gone. Right? These are all massive blows to the Iranian regime, all caused by Iran. Iran started it. This is one of the ultimate F around and find out in human history. Iran launches a 7-front war on Israel, and they end with 3 of their proxies off the map completely. And Hamas, Hezbollah, and Assad, gone. Okay, that's what happens when you F around with a first world country. If you F around with the United States on September 11th, we destroy your forces in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Regardless of what comes after, that's what happens. And if Iran decides they're going to launch a multi-front terror war against Israel, Israel will hit back and hit back hard. And the Iranian regime is in serious trouble right now. They've failed on every possible front. And with the Trump administration coming in and presumably increasing sanctions on the Iranian regime is going to have one of 2 choices. Either they are going to have to cut some sort of deal with the West in which they abandon their nuclear efforts and presumably move towards some form of non-tyranny, or they're going to be forced to collapse. Because I can promise you that the state of Israel is not going to sit around waiting to see what Iran does next with its nuclear weapons, not after Israel already took out their air defenses. So, who's the big winner in Syria? The big winner in Syria is Turkey, mostly. Turkey took an enormous amount of territory. HTS, obviously a very big winner in all of this. The Kurds, it's unclear what happened. The Kurds had basically cleared an enormous amount of territory in, again, northeastern Syria. Well, now they're going to be at war directly with the Turks. The Turks are going to be pouring forces into that region and resources into that region. So the Kurds could get really hurt. As for the Israelis, again, they can be happy that the Iranian regime has lost power to use Syria as its tool, but the people replacing that regime are Al-Qaeda jihadists and ISIS jihadists. In fact, here is some video of some of the rebel fighters talking about what comes next. They're saying that they're thanking Allah by His exalted power, the one who has helped us, neither by our strength. Here is the home of Islam. Here is the Levant. Here is Omar ibn Abdulaziz. Here is the land of Islam. Here is Damascus. Here is the land of Muslims. From here, O Jerusalem. From here, O Jerusalem, they will come. Be patient, O people of Gaza, be patient. Okay, so the people who just took over in Syria are allies of Hamas. And the Iranians had created an alliance with Hamas, but many of the people who just invaded Damascus are big fans of Hamas. They also have talked about toppling the Saudi regime because, again, they're Al-Qaeda affiliates. They're ISIS affiliates. Now, the leader of this particular terrorist group is a person, as I've mentioned, whose name is Al-Jolani. And again, many things can be true at once. Assad was an absolute butcher. Assad is responsible for the death of probably 500,000 Syrians on the other side, including huge scores of civilians. He had actually set up in one of his jails an actual crematorium, apparently. I mean, like, truly a brutal dictator, truly a brutal person. Also, not a lot of good solutions, as it turns out, in the Middle East. Because, for example, the Assad regime, much friendlier to Christians in Syria than presumably this new Sunni Islamic terror group will be. Now, again, it's possible that the Druze will be sort of a repository of pro-Christian feeling in the south of Syria. About 10% of the population of Syria is Christian. It's possible the Kurds are kind of widely known as the most pro-Christian faction in Syria, but they're being attacked by the Turks. So it's a complete mess over there. Well, it turned out that Assad is some sort of powerhouse of the region. That was all a lie. You know what else is a lie? The big ads from the big wireless carriers offering you the latest iPhone for free. If you look a little deeper, you will realize what that really means. To qualify, you need to trade in your phone. Not just any phone, one valued at $1,000. Then you're required to sign up for their $100 a month unlimited plan and pay that sneaky $35 activation fee on top of all of that. It's a lot of money for something they call free. Don't fall for the marketing tricks. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, has a much better option. Get a brand new iPhone 14. It comes with all the bells and whistles you actually need. Plus, get unlimited talk, text, generous 15 gigs of high-speed data, and mobile hotspot capability, all for just $50 a month. How about that? You're paying half the price of what the big guys normally charge. You still get a new iPhone powered by America's most dependable 5G network. do it. Head on over to puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Switching on over is easy. Plus, when you go to puretalk.com/Shapiro, you get an additional 50% off your very first month of coverage. That's puretalk.com/Shapiro for an additional 50% off your very first month. I've been using Pure Talk for years. Their coverage is awesome, and that's a great deal. puretalk.com/Shapiro. Get 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. So, who exactly is Al-Jolani? His name is Abu Muhammad Al-Jolani, and he apparently boarded a bus in Damascus in March 2003, heading across the desert to Baghdad with fellow volunteers eager to repel the looming American invasion of Iraq. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. When he returned home in 2011 after a 5-year stint in an American-run prison camp in Iraq, it was as an emissary of ISIS founder Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He arrived in Syria with bags full of cash and a mission to take the extremist movement global. Last week, 42-year-old Jolani triumphantly entered Aleppo, Syria's second largest city, as the leading commander of the Turkish-backed rebel force dominated by his group, HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Unexpected and swift, his victory marks one of the most dramatic moments in the Middle East that had no shortage of drama. So, he is currently doing things to try and appear moderate. He has issued edicts to his men ordering the protection of Christians and Shiites, demanding that his men not exact retribution. He said, in the future Syria, we believe diversity is our strength, not a weakness. So he's obviously playing for American aid and for the EU audience. Guys, don't give money to people who are members of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. It's a bad idea. The Taliban said the exact same things when they took over in Afghanistan, and now it's back to being a Taliban hellhole. So a Christian woman in Aleppo said, quote, the day they took over Aleppo, before seeing them, I felt like the Titanic was sinking. But then she said, everyone was shocked because they were treating us nicely. They look scary. They look exactly the way you imagine when someone says a terrorist, long beards and crazy hair, but they're nice. Well, we'll find out for how long they are nice, obviously. So this guy was born Ahmed Hussein al-Shara'a. He adopted the Nam de Guerre Jolani, a reference to his family's roots in the Golan Heights. He says that his family was from the Golan Heights, and then in 1967, when Syria attacked Israel and they lost the Golan Heights, then his family lost what land they had in the Golan Heights. One of the big questions for Israel is going to be whether Jolani tries to, again, direct these rebel fighters against Israel. If that happens, Israel will unleash its military power on those rebel fighters. One of the things that's been happening here is that the gap that's been left by the Iranian power in the region is now being filled by the Turkish power in the region. And again, Turkey is allied with Hamas. Turkey, again, it's unbelievable they're a NATO member, and there should be significant ramifications for Turkey's abject siding with terrorists across the region. Turkey is a nefarious power in the region now. And they are very heavily militarized. They have an excellent military. In any case, Al-Jolani broke with ISIS in 2012, and then he broke with Al-Qaeda in 2016. And this guy's got a hell of a CV. He's got a hell of a resume. And then he's fought both organizations. And according to the Wall Street Journal, he steered the HTS away from the transnational jihadist movement that is more interested in waging war on America and the West and sees national borders in the Muslim world as an artificial construct imposed by infidel colonialists. Aaron Zellin, a senior fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, so we'll see, not a great credential. He says him and his group's break with Islamic State and Al-Qaeda is very genuine. They haven't been part of these entities longer than they were with them. It's now been essentially 8.5 years they've forsworn global jihad. Instead, they're focusing in squarely on Syria. But even according to the Wall Street Journal, they are a blend of Islamism and nationalism that is closer to the Afghanistan's Taliban and Palestinian Hamas, which sounds kind of bad. And so, as it turns out, there are no good answers in the Middle East. So, what exactly is going to come next here? Well, if the Biden administration is idiotic, then they certainly will not do what they are talking about. So the Biden administration apparently is now discussing the possibility of taking HTS off the terror list. There's a $10 million bounty, by the way, on Al-Jolani's head from the U.S. State Department because he is a terrorist. And it turns out releasing terrorists from Gitmo, he was actually in Gitmo, turns out it's a bad strategy as a general rule. A senior administration official said, quote, it's kind of a broad kaleidoscope of groups. I think we have to be smart and also very mindful and pragmatic about the realities on the ground. He said HTS is saying the right things. So far, they're doing the right thing. They're not the only group. There's a series of opposition groups that reached Damascus from the south, and they are very different. Some of those are Druze, for example. So, as always, it is a giant cluster F. Again, welcome to the Middle East where there are no good answers. And it is worth pointing out that, again, the fate of a lot of people in Syria remains very much in doubt. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.